Well, looking at the need for us to rescue Nigeria, don't forget, as long as you are a Nigerian, you've got the Nigerian blood in your veins. And so it's important that we do the needful in making sure that we settle it out. Nigeria at 64, a whole lot we can say we've been able to, overcome, even though we are not there yet. But like I said earlier, we are not where we used to be. And having a start off on today's special episode, as we look at Nigeria at 64. Joining me from my extreme left is a legal practitioner, a clergyman, and he is Greg Iyayi. Big thanks for coming, Greg.
Good morning, Philip. Good morning, viewers all over the world.
And next to Greg Iyayi is the convener of the Concerned Edo Citizens Forum, also known as the Voice of the Commoners, Roy Oribabo. Thanks for coming, Roy.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we usually do this, every year, looking at what Nigeria has been able to attain and looking at the challenges we're still facing. But I rather want to start with you, Greg. Yes. Looking at what we have, Nigeria, the journey so far, and of course, the teething challenges we had at the beginning, would you say we are getting it right or we're getting close to getting it right?
Well, I want to say a big congratulations to all Nigerians. At least we are alive and we are well. And it's only when we are alive that we can hope for something better. I would not say the journey has been good. We had a lot of promise when we started the journey at independence. Very, very wonderful promise. But along the line, we blew the opportunities we had over and over and over again. And the fact that the issues that were germane at independence in every political agitation are still the same issues today, makes us to wonder, 64 good years, what has it really brought for us? So I don't think the journey has been fruitful. The journey has not been fruitful. And that is why we should take a very sober look at this geographical entity called Nigeria at this opportune time.
Some have said that the practice of the federal system of government seems to be, in the books, very, very efficient. But while we are having the implementation of this, it seems the otherwise. Let's get your thoughts on this, Roy.
Before we move into the presidential system of government, we operated a system. The regional government was there, the parliamentary system government was there. People at the time believed that was not the best for us, and Nigeria said we have to move from parliamentary system to presidential system.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what do we have to show for it? Nothing. I'm critical because I believe in what do we really do for this country? Or what does Nigeria, what can we do as a citizen, I was just reading what 20 years ago, my position on the day of Nigeria independence. I read it and I found out that nothing have really changed. If 20 years ago as an undergraduate and what I have today is even more worse than what I wrote 20 years ago, then it shows to me that of a truth, nothing is working in this country. We are celebrating 64. The federal government is telling us that it's going to be on a looking. That is, they have taken responsibility that they have failed. That is my position. I was just telling him when we were very small, on a first like this, on the 30th of September, we're already sure that we are going to enjoy of the different types of rice. There will be fried rice, there will be jollof rice, there will be white rice. As of today, my children cannot look into my face and say, today is on the first, let's cook rice. They dare not try it because it does not even come for celebration. It comes for a deep, sober reflection. We are all in a very sober mood because since we've all Nigeria, there's nothing to show for it. We must begin to look at the way forward for this country. And I'm continuing to let Nigerians know that. One, we have still jettisoned our values. In Nigeria, we don't have values again. And secondly, our institutions they are comatose. A society that have jettisoned without values, where the institutions are not working, there is no effort any person on earth will put on it that will make it to work. We must go back to how do we find ourselves in this scenario? How do we degenerate to this level that we don't no longer celebrate values? We don't attach value to life. You go to the traditional institutions, people are rewarded with chieftaincy title without proper funding on how they get to that level. You go to the religious aspect, the big men who have looted this country without regard, those who want to see at the front seat of the, if you go to the, therefore, if you're in a society, people look at how, what you have in terms of materialism. People don't question how do you make all these things. People are not interested. I remember growing up, my father would be telling me, if you show me your first car, I'll be telling you to show me your sleep. What's your take-home pay? He said, it's on there I can celebrate. That was when we were living, we have values for life, and the society have value. As of today, we don't have values. Now, the worst of all is that institutions are no longer there. Nigeria does not have institutions. I have never seen a society that works without institutions. These are the issues we must continue to look into. You look, which aspect of Nigeria are you not going to know that you'll be happy? When just now, I was just looking at my phone, I saw a man, they call very dark man, testifying before House of Rep. How a person that was sentenced, who's supposed to be in incarceration, was enjoying somewhere. That is the effect of failure of an institution. To me, I begin to wonder, has I known? And agents of government that is under with responsibility of fighting corruption, they revealed that the Interto collected about 15 million from these persons, not to, so that they can also diffuse the case the person is facing. What does that show to me? Is that one, we are gradually, Nigeria was sad on a path of prosperity 64 years ago. I was told, those who were alive told me, my father told me, that day that Nigeria was declared as an independent nation, he said come for a celebration. Every person across the length and breadth of Nigeria, they were all celebrating jubilation. At 5 years, they were still celebrating. At what point do we deviate? And that is where we are now. Every independence now is a day of lamentation. I see today as a day of lamentation for Nigeria. I see a day that all of us need to go, just be within your house, and be in a very deep sober reflection and be reminiscent of what have happened to us as a country. How can a country that is celebrating 64 years today, there is nothing to celebrate? There is no aspect of Nigeria you can celebrate. The corruption we have entered to be celebrating, we cannot even celebrate it now because we have taken corruption to another dimension that is not known to the principle and theory of dimension. Because things that happen today, you begin to wonder. Initially, we were told Nigeria is a corrupt country and people will do something, but now, we have degenerated to the level that we don't even talk about corruption again. You can see corruption working physically on the street. And nobody is bothered about that.
All right, but the aspect of corruption, I want to believe that it's not just particular to the continent Africa and, of course, to the country Nigeria. We have this interacting with even developed politics, Greg Yayi.
Yes.
And if you look at how we started, just like what Roy said, we have to look back how we got here. And even before 1960, we saw the challenges we were faced with as a nation. Not until you are able to rule over your affairs, it's always difficult, to be a second fiddle to a foreigner. Now, don't you see that as what we can also, look back and say, at least we've achieved, in the sense that we are not seen as slaves or, being run by a country that may not understand how we do our affairs. Isn't that what we should also look at as a thing to celebrate?
I know, Philip, what you are trying to get at. But, I mean, when we are talking of political freedom on it, without real freedom, if I exchange, if I move from one slave master to another slave master, I'm still a slave. So maybe my former slave master was white. Then the next slave master is black. The next slave master might be yellow. So my status has actually not changed. Though my position, locationally might change, but my status have not changed. That's what we are seeing, even within our country. Are we not still subjugated? Some of the things that our own leaders have done to us, the white men didn't do that to us. We must look at this because Nelson Mandela, he told them when he left office after one term, he said what he was seeing the ANC doing, his own party, was going to ruin South Africa, and that the whites, yes, they practiced apartheid, but that they did not loot the treasury. But what he was saying now was that the ANC members, ANC government were looting the treasury, and that they are going to enslave their own people again. Because if you impoverish a set of people, then you have automatically enslaved them in every area. You enslave them intellectually, you enslave them socially, you enslave them financially. They become dependents. And in that kind of system, anything can happen. He said he feared that the next revolution might be very unhealthy and South Africa might go into, because this was just a few years after he left office, what he was already seeing. And we can see that he was accurately prophetic about it with what we've seen in South Africa. So this is what we are saying about our own masters, our colonial masters. Now, India was ruled by Britain. India has moved on. India is now the largest, the most populated country in the world. They have overtaken China. But they conduct elections. And their elections to a large extent are free and fair. Everyone sees it, everyone knows it. They have had unbroken records of democratic rule ever since. And then they're also making economic progress, technological progress. Australia was ruled by Britain. Even the great USA was ruled by Britain. And they have all moved on. Canada was ruled by Britain. So it's not really who ruled us or for how long we even ruled. Because if you are talking of our problems, Philip, the white men are they the ones coming to rig our elections? Are they the ones taking our resources and going abroad to go and store those resources? You know, when I went to London, I was told Swiss Cottage area, Hampstead area, North London, majority of the houses there are owned by Nigerians. These are houses that they come to and they stay maybe 3 weeks, 1 month, in a year. The ground rent alone for those houses, you see, sometimes you see some things, you see evil. And then this is Nigeria's money. We cannot give the students bursary. We cannot have electricity. We cannot have pipe-borne water. We cannot have any social amenities. But this is our wealth in another man's country.
Okay.
We carried it there. When you even talk about the slave trade, I used to tell people, I said the white people did not come here to come and carry us from our villages. We were the ones that fought our brothers, set fire on our own villages, captured our own people as slaves, chained them, took them to the white men to go and ship away. So I feel Nigeria, our destiny is in our hand. It's very pathetic that many of our woes, they are self-inflicted.
Thank you very much, Greg. Let's look at the need for area awakening, because if you look at it critically, you know, looking at what we've gone through so far, there seems to be this adage that says that the leaders are a reflection of the followers. What we have at the level of leadership is exactly what it's been comprising of the followership. Now, everyone, at every time we interface with these issues, we keep having followers who later become leaders, and then they also enmeshed in the web of corruption. And you spoke about institutions, the need for institutions to work. But again, we can't make our institutions work if we are not able to reorientate our minds as followers. Don't you see this as what we should do, not only the leaders' responsibility, but also the followers? Don't you see a reawakening that should be upon every Nigerian?
Of course, you are right on that. And those reawakening you are talking about need to be prepared by government policies, by government action, deliberate effort by government to say, we have gotten to this level where we have to call a spade, not a desert spoon. We have not seen that kind of leadership being demonstrated by those in position of authority. And that's the reason why I was critical when I used the word values. Values. Because I'm aware that we need that social rearmament. We need to reawaken ourselves, or we need to rediscover ourselves. But we must, at the process of rediscovering ourselves, we must put value on ourselves. What do we really want? By the time we are able to understand the meaning of values and what our projection, we'll get it right. You continue to talk about, because the society, to me, I see as a survivor of the fittest. And that is how we see anybody you struggle for in Nigeria, once you get there, you throw away the ladder and tell you to go to hell. And we that are supposed to say, no, we cannot go to hell, we just gullibly succumb to the theory of that we have to go to hell. And that's the reason why I'm personally very pained about this country. At 64, we are talking, we get our leader from the followers. Do we even have, what kind of reward system do we have? What kind of recruitment mechanism do we have in this country? How do we recruit those who lead us? These are some of the issues, because they are not based on merit. When you get to a position that undermine the principle of merit, what are you going to be telling the people? You don't have anything to tell the people. And that is our biggest issue. I know the followers in this country, I'm also a follower, we are not doing well. I must tell you that we are not doing well as a follower. We are not doing well. There was a time I just woke up in the morning and said, well, why will I even continue to want to attack government when I see what our people are doing? You know, that's the reason why I talked about religion. That a man can tell you, I'm a pastor, you have to sow a seed of $5,000. You know, a man can wake up and tell you, that says the Lord. And you have nowhere, you can't verify it. Then people rush towards it and do it. In a society that is working, things like that don't happen. There's a limit to indulgence. That's why you praise people when the society will say no. But anything can happen in this country. People don't even. And until we look at those fundamentals, you know, the followership system, the reason why it collapsed is because the leaders don't want it to work. There is no integrity in the principle of followership again. Therefore, you cannot now throw in a leader that also possesses the spirit of integrity. You are taking from 1 to 2. It does not change you. You saw his analysis just now, that if you are a slave in Ohuodua, if you are moved to Benin, you see the man slave. What matters is the geographical location. It does not change your identity. That is what we should be looking at. Nigeria has 64. What is the way forward? We are talking about addressing the socio-political and economic challenges. What are the economic challenges? As of today, we are talking about the equity of petroleum products. We are still discussing that in 21st century. And this is a country that is naturally blessed with crude oil. It's not a rocket science for you to go to some backyard. You come to Ohuodua, some place in Ohuodua, you can even dig and see crude oil there. It's just for you to refine. The reason why some of us are even very bothered about this country is that to rule this country is the easiest thing, because we are the country. What do you need to do? You don't need to think again as a leader. I keep on telling you, you don't need to think. You have a crude oil here. You take it to abroad. You are bringing it. The Nigerian government does not have the capacity to bring it. No science attached to it. There's no science. Just take it from your soil now. Take it to abroad. Let them refine and bring it. Nigeria cannot go there and bring it. We are seeing what people already have a manufacturing set where cars are being manufactured. It's not left for Nigeria to go there and copy it and come and mount it here. Nigerian government cannot do that. We saw an express road. If you're in the United Kingdom, you're in America, you are seeing road. You are enjoying it. Nigerian government cannot just go back and say, let me copy it and come and just mark it here. You don't need to think again. Just go there and copy it. We are still talking about electricity in 21st century. We have the lights of the General Electric. We have, if you go to Russia, they are doing well in terms of those government. There are many companies. What does the Nigerian government need to do? It just go there, copy it, and come and mark it here. We cannot do it. Therefore, there are things that every day I keep on imagining, where are we even going to? Where are we headed to? If you go to ATM now, you hardly see if you can withdraw 20,000. It's a task for you to get 20,000 from your ATM machine. But when it goes, you are seeing somebody who is operating a POS machine who can give you 500,000. You understand? And these are some of the things you begin to wonder. Does these guys have what it takes? Do they print their money? The answer is no. It is from the process, this arrangement they also get. We are still talking about the former CBN governor. As we are talking now, you see under incarceration over some of the sins they say he committed. The same thing is still going on. You go to banks now, you cannot see cash. That is the same process. our net rate is on top of that is the process. Nobody is looking at the critical aspect. Any government that comes in place in Nigeria, they see it as let me fight this. They see it as an opportunity to fight back. They see it as an opportunity to dominate the people. No person have ever, for the past 30 years, no person have come to government with a responsibility to formulate a workable policy for Nigeria. Rather, you see the concoct a theory to just want to punish the people. You begin to wonder, at what time did the people offend you? And those who benefited from the process, we are in this country. We know some persons who came out who doesn't have what it takes to even be a councillor. We uplifted all of them. The people stood by them and made them governor, made them president. When they get there, what do? They revise the change and say they not tell the people. They start whipping the people physically. They start whipping the people through their economic policy. And they start subduing the people through their deliberate action and inaction. Is that not enough for you to start asking whether do we need to resort to spiritual analogy to understand the workings of Nigeria? Because the more I look at Nigeria issue, the more I'm even want to be very, very disappointed. Not because I want to be disappointed, it's because I don't know. We have defined all manner of solution. Physical solution, economic solution, we cannot do it. That's the reason I'm having as a pastor. He also got to tell us about the spiritual dimension to Nigeria.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you,
things are very easy. Presenting over a country is as easy as any other.
Thank you, Roy. Well, Nigeria at 64. Many questions have been asked. How do we get where to where we're going, and how do we even got to the place where we are? Yes. And how come we are not able to get it right? What seems to be bedeviling us as a people, as a nation? And just like Roy said, do we need to consult, spiritual perspectives on what exactly we are being faced with as a nation? But let's trace our minds or take our mind back to how our founding fathers, started. Look at the Tafawa Balewa, Azikiwe, Awo, even the political parties, their ideologies. I don't know if you would say that they were ideologies then, and if they were, what happened to the ideologies that later thinned out? Because there seems to be, if a political party has an ideology, it will guide against unnecessary cross-carpeting of members from one party to another, and it will help to enrich those in government to pursue after what their party represents, and that will be on the blueprint copies, and that will also bring about huge achievement. But today, it's quite different. We will be also looking at the presidential speech, and a lot the president said. But let's first look at how we started and what you see as a deviating point that became problematic to us, and how we can get back to that level where we can say our ideologies as parties are working, and government positions are no longer as lucrative and as attractive that will make people to come into power for the purpose of making political businesses. Exactly. For personal aggrandizement. Because we see even the rate at which people acquire forms, the nomination and interest forms for parties, for you to run, the amounts are humongous. And does that give prudence? Does that give a connotation that when such persons, after acquiring huge amounts to get these forms and also, of course, get themselves into offices, that they will basically forget about what they've spent and do the will of the people? So how do we get it right in all of this, Greg?
Well, I think when our founding fathers started, they started on a very good note. There was true federalism, and there was fiscal federalism.
Okay.
Not just political federalism, but there was fiscal federalism, that the various regions could generate, their own revenue, and then spend the revenue on the development of the people. And things went well. If you look at the first generation universities, there was a kind of competition. I was there, but I want to establish a university, what is now known as OAU.
Okay, yeah. Obafemi Awolowo University.
University, Ife. Then, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Nsukka. Then, the northern region under Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. So, there was healthy competition. You had the cocoa house built from cocoa money. Then you had the granite pyramids. Then oil palm was booming, in the eastern part of the country. At that time, there was no dependence on oil. Oil was discovered much later, and it was actually in the era of Gowon that large production of oil actually started. And unfortunately, what ought to be a blessing became a curse because people abandoned that. Then federalism, Ironsi had good intention, but the method is used abrogating the regional governments and having a unitary system of government. Well, I don't blame him too much for that because he was a soldier, this chain command and everything unitary. But it was a wrong approach. And it was one of the things that brought problems. And Gowon tried to correct that by creating 12 states so that there will be some balance and healthy competition. What really derailed the First Republic, and we must be very sincere about it, is the issue of faulty elections. This issue of election, if it's not dealt with in Nigerian political system, we'll just continue to have merry-go-round.
Recurring decimal.
Recurring decimal of crisis.
And that will continue to push us backward.
And push us back. But when there was held the election under the British for the regional government, you can see that the government were vibrant and they were competing with each other for development. Very healthy development. And unfortunately, when we returned to the civilian era, people had already gotten used to this issue of taking money at the center. That federal system, they gather all the money and then they share. If the federal government was made weaker financially, the attraction for many of these posts will not be there.
Okay, will not be there.
Will not be there. People want to develop their regions. And then if you look at some regions now, you can imagine one of the issues we had to deal with recently, where the age for taking WAEC exam,
yes.
it was actually meant to hold back. 18. It was meant to hold back a part of the country to wait for the other parts.
That's your opinion?
That's my opinion. And of course, if you look at those that affect negatively, it's going to be those of us in the South. And that was very strange to me because Taher Mama is somebody that taught me, and I respect him. And I was very surprised. Is then I knew the difference between an administrator and a politician. And the Mama I saw as a politician was different from the Mama I knew as my teacher. So, and it's very sad.
Back in the days.
So we are pained that we took a journey backward. Because look at the Western region. We're on television now. Television was invented or was introduced in the Western region, the first in Black Africa. Before the federal government even had television station, a regional government established a TV station that was the first in Black Africa. Because the regions were allowed to develop on their own, at their pace, with their own resources. But today, I don't think it is so. I think we have to get to a position where we return and say, look, let the various regions develop on their own.
Okay. He may mention the fact that the center having too much of powers, brought about some setbacks. But if you make the centers devoid of more powers that will be given to the states, there will be healthy development for state governments. But do you concur with that? Because look, even at state government level, we still have a challenge of if the resources come, how do you utilize these resources?
That is my
and
fear.
Who monitors the state government?
That is my fear. That's the reason why I will continue to learn Nigerians. So what we know, what we need to place more emphasis now is our value. We must develop it. Because if you look critically, look at most governors, with due respect to them in Nigeria, they are not different from imperials. You know, the governors, most of the governors are even suppressing the people more than the federal government. You know, no matter with this kind of a mindset and orientation we have, no matter what you want to do, have you visit your community, go for community meeting and community gathering, you'll be seeing what people will be saying. You'll be seeing what sway people within your community. It will surprise you that people cannot conveniently reason straightly. Their reason is not prepared by what they can take, even within your community. It will shock you that if you are in your community, issues that are being discussed as at the level of the Oweshi, they will tell you, they will change it and maneuver it for their own favor. Why? Because they think something is there to change. With this kind of a mindset, you will get it. And you know, I talk about religion now. When a prophet will tell you that thou says the Lord, and you know where to verify it. Anything is crossed out from the Imam, you take it.
But don't forget the attractiveness of the office is also a challenge. And again, before now, I also said the aspect of, you know, too much money that is being deployed to become the governor of the state. And even in recent times, vote buying is expensive.
No, let us not even go into the issue of vote buying. Vote buying is just it's a waste of time. In modern day politics, they don't take vote buying. It's no longer an issue. And no politician in Nigeria now will be thinking of vote buying, where you can just go to a top, under 10 minutes, you change the figures. Why spending money in vote buying? Those are just elementary aspects of rigging election. People, you are still talking about vote buying. We should be looking at, you talk about political party, the viability of political party.
Yeah.
Because one, political parties, they are not tailored and built around ideology. Anybody can wake up, depend how rich are you, then you float a political party.
How do we change the narrative?
Are you aware that political parties in Nigeria, members don't pay dues? Members don't pay dues. In those days, if you are a member of NPA, UPA, what makes you to be a member is your due card.
Okay, yeah.
But now you go and ask APC, no person is paying. You go to PDP, nobody is paying. That's the reason why you see PDP now, they are shadow of themselves, because one person who will be financing it now, it's not here, it's not equating itself to God because of the money I've invested. If collectively political parties, the members were paying their dues as at when due, I see no reason why one man can hold on to a political party. And I just know that if a political party have 1 million people, and you are paying dues of just only 100 naira per month, 100 naira, do your calculation by year. There's not, with 1 million, paying 100 naira per month, that's about one, two times it by 12. You will see how rich is that going to be, that political party. But we have deviated from that. That's the reason why anybody who wants to contest for position now will not go and look for where to borrow money. We have come to that level that
exactly.
people,
which is a big
people
challenge.
go to bank to go and take note to contest.
Because if you take
election.
that money, you must pay back.
It's a deliberate act from those in position of authority to frustrate those who are in business. If you are in business today, you don't identify with a political party, you cannot do business successfully. We just have a new government in Edo State and I will be coming about by November. You will see the numbers of business that will be relocating out of Edo State because they were not in support of this particular candidate. And the candidate will not also overlook them. He will make sure he frustrates their business. Then that's the reason why I say everybody is telling and moving towards.
Are you not sure you are being presumptive? Because,
because
if we are to look critically, the same governor-elect has already said that there is going to be an inclusiveness in his government.
Over the years, these are language. It's just like Nigeria police issue a statement. They already know what something happened. Already know what they are going to see. I will never leave any stone unturned. It's natural for you to just say I did. It's not for you to change it. These are things you are hearing from politicians that we are going to run an inclusive government. You and I know that there is nothing like inclusive government in Nigeria. Let us not deceive ourselves over that. I'm just telling you that the viability, why people are rushing what to identify with political party, is because, one, if you are a businessman, you are not in love with the party in power. You cannot conveniently do business. Yeah. A critical example is Dangote. Dangote was setting up a refinery that day. All Nigeria were celebrating it that the petroleum product, the price will come down. What happened after it was commissioned? You see the shenanigans. You see the gimmicks. You see the maneuvering that follow the whole process.
Yeah, we have
Now,
discussed the problems for too long.
Yes.
Now, Nigerians want solutions. Like we talk about our electoral laws, for instance.
Yes.
And a lot has been said, even when Greg also made mention of the electoral umpire. Now, let's look at what all the shenanigans that you must have seen. Let's look at how to get it right. How do we change the narrative? If you are saying that a particular election, for instance, lost its luster because of what happened, because of what transpired, and for the very fact that there is now a new way of, getting results, written according to you. So let's look at how to navigate through this and change the narrative. What do you deploy?
I said the panacea. In that issue, when I was laying my foundation, I told you the panacea to Nigeria's problem is very easy. One, we must strengthen our institutions. We must critically work on our institutions.
How do we strengthen it?
How do we strengthen
because
institutions?
We now have someone who probably has, through the system, came through the corrupt system,
yes,
and we want to pay back what he borrowed.
Of course.
So because he acquired the form,
of course,
hugely,
yes,
and he got his election done
through that.
So if we look at this, how do we get it right? Where do we start from?
Now, the power does not.
Don't forget, he also said that if the center has too much of powers, it can also cause a whole lot of challenges.
Now, the people does not even have power to elect who lead them. Have got it to that level. We must face it. If you are looking for a solution, you must also know what are the immediate and the remote causes of the problem.
You can't say the people don't have power.
They don't have power to elect who preside over them.
In every election, we see people pouring out en masse to vote.
I don't want to.
And it's their votes that are being counted. Or what do you mean?
If the votes are counting, you also. If it's not counting, we also know. Let us not even go into the. Since we are looking for solution, let's look for how to we get solution. And you also deduce by your presentation and submission that because those who pass through a raw process, we want to further invest on it so that they can recoup their resources. Therefore, we're in a dilemma here. How do you expect somebody who borrow money, who undermine a process to get to on top, to now say, "Look, let me block that loophole"? It would be hard. That's the reason why I have sourcing for spiritual interpretation, spiritual dimension to it. There was a man called Musa Yar'Adua of blessed memory. When he came on board, he openly told Nigeria, he said the system that brought me to power was not a system I'm proud of. And he said, "Let me assure Nigeria that I'm going to work on our electoral system." Immediately, the man said, "No, Nigerians cannot be buying petroleum products at this rate." He reduced it. The economy did never collapse, and the economy was moving well. And the man, and he said, rule of law. He said the judiciary should function the way they should function. Do we not experience judiciary really function the way they should function? The records are there. You know what happened. Then, petroleum product, was it not reduced? Did he not set up a machinery to review our electoral process? These are persons who believe Nigeria need to work. It's very unfortunate that the man died. The death of the man took us backward. And I believe how that man was still alive to do is by 4 years or 8 years, we could have had a system that we would not be looking at individuals. We'll be looking at institutions that are working.
Okay, but I believe we still have people of great political will.
In
the presidential broadcast, a lot of points the president made, and we're going to itemize them one after the other. He made a lot in terms of what he said, has been able to achieve in 1 year, looking at the fight against, insecurity, the challenges of the insurgency that he has been able to, his administration has been able to brought to a point where we can say there's much achievement. But I also took note of what he said concerning the National Conference for the Youths. He said there's going to be a National Conference for the Youths, which would be for a 30-day program, which would be a 30-day program that will run. And then the youths that will be the candidates will be chosen from their various representatives all across the country in order to discuss the way forward, the challenges facing the youth. Because if we look at the challenges where even we have protests these days, most of them are the youths. And they come out in their numbers. And so that shows that it is not well with the youth. So these are a kind of political will that could also navigate through. We had that in the National Conference where it was said that there should be a national conference on how Nigeria can work again. Now, what do you see, taking a leaf from what the president said, what do you see as a way forward in making sure that we have a conference or we implement that which we had before to make Nigeria work.
I do not want to disparage whatever the president of a country says. But you see, it's not what you say, it's what you do. And that is just it. It's not what you say, it's what you do. Okay, you say you care about the youths. If you look at some of his policies, the people that it has impacted negatively on are actually the youths. That is why our youths are restive. For instance, you're asking Uniben to pay 300 million naira as electricity bill in a month. Majority of the students in Uniben are they not youths.
And that's in the past anyway, because at present the federal government is taking 50% of that off.
150 million a month for electricity bill alone. Let's look at that, because then you are increasing school fees in federal government institutions. Majority of the people, 80% there, they are youths. Why don't you reduce the school fees? If you really want to help the youths, if you cannot make it free, there was a time that tuition in federal government institutions were free. Tuition was just free.
Maybe at that time it was because the level of those who were educated were very small. Because I remember then when my father used to tell me that even when he finished school, you know, even before he finished school, a lot of companies were coming to woo him into becoming, you know, a staff of theirs. Now, when I finished, even before I finished, I didn't see anybody coming to woo me. Even when I finished, I entered the street, I trekked from the length and breadth of Lagos State, looking for a job. Now, it wasn't the same way my father had it. So what actually is responsible for this?
What was the income of Nigeria then, the revenue generated then? What is the revenue now? What was it applied into?
Or maybe the population has increased.
No, yes, the population has increased, but our revenue...
And the population is dragging with same scarce resources.
More people are paying taxes. More companies are paying taxes. Government is getting more revenue. We are drilling more oil. And oil in the international market is higher than it was in those days. The figures are there. So if you actually want to help the youths, you know, why don't you say, okay, the NYSC people, they don't increase their salary to minimum wage, which is level 1 for a graduate.
Yeah, 77. Even above minimum wage.
Yes. How much will it take a copper to feed, to transport himself to the place of work?
Are you saying it's not encouraging?
It is not encouraging.
With the reality of
it cannot. One of my daughters is
don't forget. These corps members also take money from their primary assignments.
Not all. Tell me any copper working in most of the government institutions that takes 1 kobo. I told that you are doing government service. It's like missionary work as far as those companies are concerned. So why don't you say, because a nation that does not invest in their youth, you cannot expect, because we are talking of deepening patriotism. If you don't invest in your youth, don't expect patriotism from them.
But is that not what the president is already working towards? Because he said it's going to be a 30-day conference.
We are not concerned.
The
money you will use to organize the conference, use it to set up an industry. Because that conference, contracts will flow for politicians. You are not the one who is going to organize it. They're going to award contracts to the acolytes. The money used for that is a jamboree. And at the end of the day, I don't even want to mention that. It might even be, because you say it's conspiracy theory, you know, mobilizing for second term. So what we are saying is this. If it's not what you say, do something for the youth. Make education affordable. Some of our youths, they are ready to struggle on their own. Make electricity available so that they can do their laundry work, welding work, tailoring work, and other jobs. And our youths, they don't want to be dashed dumb. We are not like the Jews. They are not like the Jews in Europe that queue for do. They want to work and earn money by themselves. Create the enabling environment. Make life stable. They are ready to work. They are willing to work. And that spirit of hard work is domiciled in every Nigerian youth. That is why no matter the harsh conditions in other countries, they survive, they thrive, they excel. And many of the people this way, they are depending on their labor there. The problem with Nigeria is that the enabling environment for education is not there, for employment generation is not there, and you just frustrate the youth. You are talking of Jamboree Conference.
Well,
who is interested?
Thank you. I think the pendulum will now swing to the voice of the commoner, Royal Oriwabo. Don't forget, as a special edition of Independence Day, as we mark or commemorate Nigeria at 64. It's quite difficult to celebrate.
Of course, even the Nigerian government says you have to be on the low key.
Okay, now we have challenges. Where even before today, we had the issues or rumors or plans by some protest organizers to hit the street today, and the need for them to clamor demands on, the challenges, socioeconomic challenges and political challenges facing them or facing us as Nigerians. We have the fuel subsidy removal from the time the president came into power. Nigerians won't forget that day where he said fuel subsidy gone. Now, he came up with some hope that he's going to bring palliatives and he's going to bring, buses to aid transportation. And just recently, we had about 64, buses, CNG buses, given to labor, TUC and NAS in order to help ameliorate the plight. Now, in this line of, tackling the aspect of the fuel subsidy removal, do you see this as encouraging done by the president?
Of course, if the government, or if I was very close to those in position of authority, I could have advised them. I give it the CNG buses to Labour Congress. They are called Labour Congress. They already have job. Why are you giving them? You are giving it to TUC. Why are you giving them? You are giving what? You are those buses. You say he's donating it to TUC.
But, yeah. But don't forget the workforce. Don't forget the workforce already have a challenge because you may mention the fact that even the 70,000 minimum wage.
That is the more reason you are talking.
It's not enough to carry through.
You are talking about.
And this is one of the promises he made.
You are talking of a man who can eat at least 1 square meal a day. You are not bothered of a man who cannot take 1 square meal a day for 3 days. These are some of the injustices that happen in the society.
But the bosses will actually,
what I expect.
It's not going to be in the executive.
Because
it's going to be across the states.
The way Nigeria is structured, Nigeria Labour Congress will be managing it, and the process will be going there. Their organization. The one you are giving to NAS, the NAS official will be managing it. And NAS tenure is about 1 year. You are elected. I was once there. Therefore, the Nigeria Labour Congress, they are also there, the TUC are there. What I expect the Nigerian government to do is to take an inventory. I run an NGO that care for the commoners. To take inventories of those who don't have jobs as of today. And to say, for you to earn a living, we will shortlist your names. We will not know persons are enjoying these buses. The Keke people, these are people, and then the government will also be there regulating the price. You are giving her a bus out now. From here to, for example, from here to Ring Road, in the popular buses, from here to Ring Road is 500. And the CNG boy is also collecting 500. Does that make any sense to any human being? These are some of the issues I'm arguing. I expect the Nigerian government to be more determined. Because what I just see from the Nigerian government giving buses around, to me, these are just a political gifts. They want to use it because, they have been long ahead with the Nigerian Labour Congress, with the TUC, in terms of this minimum wage. And they are targeting the youth using NAS as a platform. And I said, no, you can't get it right. The Nigerian government can do more better than this. We already told that we have a security net in terms of the mobilization for the Nigerians who don't have jobs. We have the Directorate of Unemployed in Nigeria. We are supposed to look at them, look at their register. Okay. So that we know within your community, and we know that Philip benefited from this bus. He's using a CNG bus to hustle on daily basis.
Okay, thank
then
you.
We'll be able to look at that. So not that you not give it to an established organization.
Okay. I think as time progresses, we'll continue to interrogate that. But let's take your final remarks on this, Greg Iyayi. Looking at what we've said so far, and most especially as it pertains to the electoral umpire, INEC, and how to make sure that our electoral laws are effective in 2 minutes.
Well, we have good electoral laws. It is the operation of those laws and the people that are already in charge. INEC needs to save Nigeria a lot of problem. If you just follow the law and you do just like an umpire, conduct the election, tally the votes.
How do they tackle undue influence from external bodies?
Yeah, resist undue influence. Honestly, it's possible. It's
because
possible.
They say he who pays the piper, he who pays the pipe,
you must not be a returning officer. If you are a professor, you must not be a returning officer. How can you be a professor and you are a returning officer and then somebody who knows nothing is telling you what to announce? Would you leave that place? Must you be a returning officer? You're already a professor. A professor, even when he retires, is on his salary for life. And he can even go on contract. Plus some other things he can do. Is it the need for money or the greed for money that we are actually after? So, I mean, there must be people who can. There are judges that are INEC and the judiciary. They hold the key to free and fair election in this place. Because if corrupt politicians and even a corrupt INEC, they give a wrong return, if it's overturned by the court once, twice, I think it will be a disincentive.
All right, thank you. Your final remarks as we look at a way forward.
I encourage all Nigerians to remain very determined more than ever. Nigeria is not going to be very good with what I've seen. With the indices available, Nigeria is not going to be good for us.
Hope you're not a prophet of doom in this.
We just need to, with what is on ground now, we just need to.
I expect you to bring hope.
Bring hope alive. And that's the reason why the spiritual dimension will bring hope. With the physical dimension I'm saying, with the economic policy I'm saying, with the direction, Nigeria is not going to be better very soon.
Well, that's his opinion. And don't forget, it's a discourse on Nigeria at 64.